Hello, Chess family. It's me, National Master Jesse James, and today we're continuing with our segment of instructive chess miniatures. And this one, we're going to be seeing a nice game from Rubinstein versus Hirschbein. Hopefully, I pronounced that correct. A very nice game where, of course, Rubinstein, a nice positional player, just outplays his opponent in a nice d4 opening. And, well, Black really never has a chance in this game because he never got to create any counterplay. With that being said, this is the power of d4. Whenever you open up the game, especially in a superior position or strategically better position, the game crumbles. Well, let's take a look and see how Rubinstein does it. Here we go. We start up with d4, knight f6, c4, e6. Looks like a typical d4 opening. Here, Black has played the master way of playing, which is knight f6 and e6. Why is this masterful? Well, because Black really hasn't chosen an opening yet, and he can still choose from quite a few. He could play d5 and go into a queen's gambit, maybe even play c6 later and play like a Slav or even a Moran system. You could be playing the Nimzo Indian, you could play a modern Bayoni, you could play b6 for Queen's Indian. This is why it's such a good opening. You're not giving away your hand, you're not letting your opponent know what you're playing. That being said, Black didn't do that well this game, so, well, it's still a good way to play. And now we continue, knight c3, d5. So Black has said we're going to be playing a queen's gambit here. Bishop g5, a very typical move. We want to get the bishop outside the pawn chain before we play the pawn up to e3. Basically, in most d4 openings, this bishop is the real big problem for Black in mostly all the d4 openings. And this is why White gets a good advantage, just because of this guy right here. Because it's not just that this guy can't get out, it's also this guy. The knight can jump out, but again, two pieces in this game are just not going to be able to get used. Alright, Black continues. Bishop b7. Makes sense, developing and getting out the pin. Pawn to e3. Castles. Simple chess here. What's the next piece we should move? Remember, guys, develop knights before bishops. Knight to f3. Knight b to d7. And now a nice move here, rook c1. Here they are fighting over that one tempo in the game. Well, very common in these queen's gambits is trying to bring the bishop out to d3 right away. Of course, theory says this is not the best, although I tend to do this every once in a while. What's wrong with this move? Well, Black will take on c4, White takes back, and then you can immediately play pawn to c5 here to get a game, or even pawn to b6. But the point is that, well, you had to move your bishop 2 times. So here they're arguing over this one tempo, and that's why Rubinstein goes ahead and plays rook to c1. White is hoping Black will take, so you don't lose a tempo and you take back and you're having a good game. And Black is waiting for you to move this bishop. Doesn't matter where you move it, I will take, and you will have to move the same piece twice. So rook c1 is a nice move here that is still developing but does not waste time. The problem with this is that, well, the longer you hold off on this move, the longer you will be stopping yourself from castling. And because, as you can see, Black is already castled. If Black can open up the center and start making counterplay, White will be in some trouble here. All right, here we go. In the game, we continue with pawn c6. A move I don't recommend here, but it is one of the main moves here, and it is a solid way to play. With that being said, I do play this myself. I mostly play because I haven't really learned too much theory in these light square openings. I mostly play on the dark squares, and well, I love to attack. But this is a very solid setup. White can definitely get a very good game here positionally. All right, here we go. Queen c2, again developing and trying not to move out the bishop because, again, once you move this bishop, they're just going to take. Queen c2, very good move, putting pressure on the h7 pawn, which, as we know, whenever the king is castled, h7 is the weakness, vice versa, h2 is the weakness. All right, Black keeps developing here, rook to e8, not really a good move here. In my opinion, you should either look at this h6 move, b6 is the one I like the most, just, again, trying to get this bishop into the game so we can get the rook into the game. Open up the center as soon as possible. All right, here we go, rook e8. Pawn to a3, again fighting over these tempos. Rubinstein does not want to give up on this idea. Pawn h6, bishop to f4. If you do play bishop h4, this is most likely what Black would like to see because, well, there's lots of moves here that you can try to move, like maybe even knight to h5. And the idea here is whenever you have less space, try to make some trades here because, well, whenever you have more space, you need more pieces to control it, right? Well, whenever you make these trades, there's less pieces to control all that space that you control. All right, so bishop f4 was played, and you could play knight h5 here. This wasn't played. Instead, well, d takes c4 gets played, and now Rubinstein is very happy. And I can kind of understand that because in the main line, a lot of times Black goes knight d5 to make trades here, as we will see pretty soon. All right, well, your opponent pretty much gave up on their idea, so let's go ahead and take. Bishop takes c4. Now white is clearly better. Their pieces are all nice and developed, and we are now ready to castle. Black plays knight b6, a nice tempo to attack the bishop. Question, where do you move your bishop to? Should we go to d3 or go to a2? Both of these are good moves, but one of them is definitely better than the other one. Which one would you play? They both have two different ideas. Alright, hopefully you spotted it. We're going to be playing bishop to a2. Now, this may seem a little weird here, but this is actually perfect. One of the things that we're going to be doing here, especially in these d4 openings, is play the bishop to b1, threatening the check on h7. Now, the idea is not that, well, they'll miss it. The idea is that whenever you play something like this creates a threat, and they will have to defend it. If they end up moving pawns, well, now we see weaknesses around there, because try not to move pawns in front of your king. So this is a very strong idea. Just remember, put your pieces whenever they support the queen behind the queen, okay? These threaten checkmates, while vice versa, if you played bishop d3, well, this threatens a check. Do you like checks or do you like checkmates? Hopefully you answered that correctly. All right, back to the game. The correct move was played. Bishop to a2, bishop to d6, and you can see here, again, black is just trying to make some trades here. Unfortunately, this is not a very good trade as, well, Rubinstein's very happy, and he goes ahead and takes. Now, this may seem weird, but if you don't trade here, black can look about trying to play e5. In this game, if black can play either e5 or c5, well, then they're going to get counterplay because they're going to be able to open up the position. Remember, when I'm talking about opening up, I'm talking about pawn trades so your rooks and bishops can get out. As you can see, well, black is restrained here. There's really no way to get this bishop out, and that's why b6 will get played to bring the bishop out, or e5 lets the bishop out. Even pawn c5 can let the bishop out this way. Again, you need to open up the pieces because, well, the king's still in the center, and you're limited on your time. Once white castles, this is going to pretty much be over. All right, and why is this good for white? Well, white's very happy to trade off because, well, e5 was one of the main moves here. This bishop, the dark square bishop, controls e5. We're trading off one, and now it's going to take a little bit longer to organize another attack against e5. So Rubinstein goes ahead and takes. Here you see the knight and pawn are guarding here, so black can't play e5 anytime soon. Perfect timing. Let's just go ahead and castle. And this is what I'm talking about when you play these d4 openings. You restrain and you maintain. Black, again, is just trying to create some kind of counterplay, but white is slowly controlling everything. And whenever they're ready, they're going to push forward with all their pieces nice and developed. All right, black went ahead and played knight bd7. Not a good idea to move the same piece twice. And you can already see that this bishop and rook, well, definitely the worst pieces in the game. Why did black play knight b to d7? Again, black is looking to play either e5 or c5. But be careful, you see the c file is already being controlled by the rook and the queen. e5 would probably be the best way for black to move forward here. All right, what do we play here? Well, white knows black's idea, so let's develop and stop the idea. What do we play here? Develop with a threat. What's the next piece we want to move? Hopefully you know it, it's this rook. How can you develop with a threat? There's no open files. Simple chess, know your opponent's idea and think ahead. We know black wants to play e5 here. Well, it's a good idea to put your rook opposite of your opponent's queen. So we play rook after d1. Now white has all their pieces developed and they will start the attack soon. Black's turn. Black played queen e7. Wah, wah. Definitely not a move that you want to play, but at this point it's pretty much necessary. If you try to play e5 now, well, you weren't paying attention to this rook after d1. Pawn simply takes, and now we got a double attack. The rook's attacking the queen, and the pawn's attacking the knight and the queen. So, yeah, you just lost the game. So, queen e7 makes sense. Not a move I want to play, but almost a necessity. Again, black is threatening to play pawn e5. Please let me get out of this position. What does white play? Restrain and maintain. Let's go ahead and stop e5 from being played. Only one good way to stop it. What do we play here? Hopefully you see it. It's knight to e5. This is a very common idea in these positions, especially d4 ones, because, well, if we control e5 here, first of all, we have a nice outpost for our knight and other pieces there. But basically, again, the pawn can't move forward, so the bishop can't get out. Bishop can't get out, the rook can't get out. Please take this to heart. A lot of people that play these positions don't understand that. All right, well, black is just happy to make some trades here, as you can see. The knights are just lapped over each other, and they can't even move around. So, knight takes e5, d takes e5, knight to g4. Looking like a good move because, well, we're attacking the pawn. All right, white to move. Let's start the attack. White's pieces are looking gorgeous here. They all have ideas. They all got places to be. What do we do now? Simple chess. always try to make threats. Here, the simple move gets played, bishop b1. Now, this comes with a strong check and mate idea, so of course we can't take on e5. Black needs to stop this, but again, any way that black tries to stop this is going to create a weakness. You play g6, the dark squares get weak. If you play, well, what else can you play? Pawn to f5? Oof, pawn f5 is not a move you'd like to see. First of all, I'm going to take anyways. The knight takes back, and yes, we do see that the knight is guarding on a7, but now you got an isolated pawn, and the diagonal is going to be open for, well, for the rest of the game. White holds a huge advantage here. In fact, I'll probably trade off this knight here just so I can make the h7 square weak. All right, back to the game. Black did the best they could. Black went ahead and played pawn to g6. Now we can definitely sense those dark square weaknesses. And here, I will challenge you to find the best move here. White to move. What do you play? All right, remember, I do encourage you to push pause on these positions. All right, well, hopefully you got it. Now, this is a very high-class move, or a class move, as one of my mentors used to say, because, well, not everyone's going to find this move. Here, if you're obsessed about defending the pawn, good for you, but at this time, it's about breaking through. And this is hard for a lot of people because, well, when you have the advantage, you don't want to lose material, right? Well, it's okay to lose material if you're getting something for it. It's compensation, right? Well, here the compensation is going to be the dark squares. And we need to win this game with not only strategy, but also with tactics. Well, here comes the tactics. Whenever there is weaknesses, there will be tactics in the position. Here the beautiful move gets played. Knight to e4. Now, I'll give you full points for this if you see the continuation. Here, knight to d6 is being threatened, maybe even knight f6 in some lines. Black is definitely having a hard time here. Well, black went ahead and took, and here I will give you the points, the fictional points that I make up, but I will give you full credit for this if you found the next move, knight e4 combined with queen c3. This idea is taking the dark squares. As we've mentioned, the dark squares are weak now because, well, g6 got played. And when the queen goes to c3, now you see the idea of knight f6 check. That loses the rook at least. Well, the exchange to be accurate. Well, black did their best. Black went ahead and played knight d7. And unfortunately for black, well, this is just tactically refuted. White to move and win. Finish the game off nicely here. There's lots of different ways to win here, but only one is going to be the best. All right, hopefully you found it. Here the idea is from the simple tactic of knight f6 check. Well, you can't play that because there's a knight defending it. Simple chess, remove the defender. Here we go. Rook takes d7. Bishop takes. Of course, queen takes would just be terrible here as knight f6 check just forks. And, well, a royal fork here is going to end the game very fast. So we take with the bishop. But again, we're going to be breaking through here. Knight f6 check. King f8. And, okay, last move of the game. Hopefully you can find this final tactic. When you see a good move, look for a better one. White to move and win. What do you play? All right, hopefully you found it. There's definitely a lot of ideas here. There's like knight takes. There's like queen over here check. What's the idea here? It's so simple. Hopefully here you realize that if you get the queen to h8, it's checkmate. But you need a free tempo. So move the knight and make a threat. Hopefully you found it. Knight to d5 and black resigns. There's no way that you can move your queen because, well, let's say you move your queen somewhere. Whenever you move your queen, this square is still being taken up by the knight. So the queen will still come in for checkmate. And, well, there's nowhere to move your queen to stop this h8 over here, so black is just in a lost position. Guys, hope you enjoyed this game. Remember, the power of d4, restrain and maintain. And, well, I'll see you in the next video.